Smile, you son of a... Jaws wasn't just the movie that made you afraid of the ocean. It was the disaster that almost never happened, where everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and somehow created the greatest thriller ever made. Picture this: a mechanical shark that refused to work, a young director on the verge of a nervous breakdown, and a production spiraling so far out of control that studio executives wanted to shut it down entirely. Local kids breaking into the shark. George Lucas nearly had his head taken off. A movie that was supposed to show the monster constantly, but couldn't, and accidentally invented modern horror in the process. I'm about to reveal 20 weird facts about Jaws that will change how you see this masterpiece forever. And stick around for the bonus fact that reveals the darkest secret behind Spielberg's inspiration. Let's dive into the bloody waters of Hollywood's most chaotic production. Fact number 1. Bruce was named after Spielberg's lawyer. The mechanical shark that terrorized Amity Island got his nickname from an unlikely source. Spielberg named the animatronic Bruce after his lawyer, Bruce Raymer, in what was either a stroke of dark humor or a passive-aggressive jab at the legal profession. What audiences didn't know was that this 25-foot, 1.2-ton mechanical nightmare would become more troublesome than any contract dispute. Bruce wasn't just a prop, he was a three-part monster consisting of a full-body shark for underwater shots, a left-side profile, and a right-side profile. Each version cost roughly the equivalent of $500,000 in today's money, making Bruce more expensive per pound than most Hollywood stars. Fact number 2. Local kids sabotaged the shark. The production's worst enemy wasn't the ocean, the weather, or even Universal Studios. It was a group of curious Martha's Vineyard teenagers who treated Bruce like their personal playground. Jeffrey Voorhees, who played shark victim Alex Kintner, revealed that local kids would sneak onto the set at night and tamper with the mechanical shark, pulling wires, pressing buttons, and generally wreaking havoc on the already temperamental machine. The crew would arrive each morning to find Bruce's jaw stuck open, his eyes spinning wildly, or his entire hydraulic system drained. These midnight raids forced the production to hire security guards specifically to protect their mechanical star, adding thousands to an already ballooning budget. Fact number 3. The shark platform sank on day 1. Before Bruce could terrorize beachgoers, he had to survive his own opening scene. In early July, the platform used to tow the two side-view sharks capsized as it was being lowered to the ocean floor, forcing a team of divers to retrieve it. This wasn't a minor hiccup. It was a full-scale underwater rescue mission. The $150,000 mechanical shark lay on the ocean bottom like a metallic corpse while divers worked frantically to salvage what they could. The salt water had already begun corroding Bruce's internal mechanisms, and what was supposed to be a single day's work turned into a week-long recovery operation that set the tone for the entire production. Fact number 4. Spielberg wanted to quit every day. 26-year-old Steven Spielberg wasn't the confident blockbuster king we know today. He was a television director drowning in his first major film, calling his agent daily to beg for any other job. The mechanical shark failures, the hostile New England weather, and the mounting studio pressure pushed Spielberg to the brink of a complete breakdown. He later admitted that he would lock himself in his trailer and cry, convinced his career was over before it had truly begun. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The man who would become Hollywood's most successful director was ready to abandon the project that would make him a legend. Fact number 5. The movie cost. 3 times its budget. The film's budget started at $3.5 million, but grew to around $9 million because of production problems. This wasn't creative accounting or Hollywood excess. This was pure survival. Every time Bruce malfunctioned, it cost the production roughly $30,000 per day in crew wages, equipment rental, and lost shooting time. The mechanical shark's breakdowns were so frequent that the crew developed a grim sense of humor about it, placing bets on how long Bruce would work each day. One crew member joked that they were making the most expensive fishing documentary in history, since they spent more time trying to catch their fake shark than filming actual scenes. Fact number 6, George Lucas nearly lost his head. Future Star Wars creator George Lucas visited his friend Spielberg on the Martha's Vineyard set and almost became Bruce's first real victim. Lucas was examining the mechanical shark when someone accidentally triggered the hydraulic jaws, which snapped shut with bone-crushing force inches from Lucas's face. The iconic film was notable for its mechanical shark, which kept breaking down during the Jaws shoot, claiming George Lucas as its first victim, though fortunately only metaphorically. The near miss was so terrifying that Lucas refused to go near Bruce for the rest of his visit, joking that he preferred working with miniature spaceships that couldn't actually bite back. Fact number 7, the blood was actually Caro syrup. Every drop of blood that made audiences gasp and squirm wasn't blood at all. It was corn syrup mixed with red food coloring. The thick, viscous liquid photographed better than stage blood and stayed visible longer in the ocean water. But the sugary concoction created its own problems. It attracted every seagull, bee, and fly within miles of Martha's Vineyard. Actors covered in fake blood would be swarmed by insects between takes, and the sticky mess was nearly impossible to wash off in the cold Atlantic water. Roy Scheider later joked that he spent more time fighting off bees than battling sharks. Fact number 8. The movie was shot entirely out of sequence. The chaos of Bruce's mechanical failures forced Spielberg to abandon any logical shooting schedule. Scenes were filmed whenever the shark worked, regardless of where they appeared in the story. This meant actors had to maintain their character's emotional journey without any narrative context. Roy Scheider might shoot Chief Brody's final confrontation with the shark in the morning, then film his first scene meeting Hooper in the afternoon. Richard Dreyfuss later said it was like performing a play where someone had scattered all the pages and told the actors to improvise the story back together. Fact number 9. Martha's Vineyard became a character. The production team chose Martha's Vineyard because it looked like the perfect New England beach town. What they didn't anticipate was how the local community would become part of the movie itself. Island residents served as extras, local businesses provided services, and even the island's geography influenced the story. The shallow waters around the vineyard, originally seen as a limitation, became crucial to the plot. The shark could attack in surprisingly shallow water, making even knee-deep beach visits terrifying. The community embraced their role so completely that many locals still introduce themselves as having appeared in Jaws decades later. Fact number 10. The famous Indianapolis speech was rewritten the night before. Robert Shaw's haunting monologue about the USS Indianapolis wasn't in the original script. Shaw, a former alcoholic who had been sober for years, got drunk the night before filming and rewrote the entire speech by hand. The next morning, Shaw was so ashamed of his behavior that he asked to refilm the scene sober, delivering one of cinema's most powerful performances on his second attempt. The Indianapolis speech, born from one night's relapse and morning's redemption, became the emotional heart of the entire film. Before we dive deeper into these shark-infested waters, go ahead and like and subscribe because what you're about to discover will change how you see every thriller that came after Jaws. These facts get even weirder. Fact number 11. The shark's roar was actually a combination of land animals. Bruce never made a sound underwater, but the few times audiences heard the shark roar, it wasn't what they expected. The sound designers created the shark's vocalizations by combining the roars of lions, the growls of bears, and the screams of dolphins played at different speeds. The most terrifying shark sounds were actually recorded in a zoo, not an aquarium. This bizarre audio cocktail created something that sounded both familiar and utterly alien, triggering primal fear responses in audiences who couldn't quite identify what they were hearing. Fact number 12. The movie created real-world shark hysteria. Jaws led many viewers to fear going into the ocean. Some even questioned whether sharks could be in Lake Michigan. Reduced beach. Attendance in 1975 was attributed to it, as well as more reported shark sightings. But the movie's impact went far beyond empty beaches. The film inspired what marine biologists now call the Jaws effect, a massive increase in shark hunting that decimated populations worldwide. Fishing tournaments specifically targeting sharks became popular weekend activities, with thousands of great whites killed in the years following the film's release. The movie meant to thrill audiences instead triggered an ecological disaster that continues today. Fact number 13. Spielberg never went in the water during filming. The director who created cinema's most famous ocean thriller was terrified of deep water long before he made Jaws. Spielberg directed most of his water scenes from boats, never actually swimming in the ocean around Martha's Vineyard. His fear of open water, combined with the mechanical shark's unpredictability, meant he experienced genuine anxiety every time actors had to perform swimming scenes. This personal terror translated directly into the film's effectiveness. Spielberg wasn't just directing fear, he was living it. Fact number 14. The smile scene was completely improvised. Roy Scheider's famous line, "Smile, you son of a," wasn't in any script. As the mechanical shark bore down on him during filming, Scheider looked into Bruce's dead glass eyes, and the words just came out. The line was so perfect that Spielberg kept it in the final cut, even though it meant Bruce's mouth movements didn't match any planned dialogue. The result was a moment of pure human defiance that felt more authentic than anything a screenwriter could have crafted. Fact number 15. John Williams' score was written without seeing footage. Composer John Williams created the iconic two-note shark theme based only on Spielberg's descriptions of what the film might look like. Williams had no footage to work with, Bruce was too broken to film consistently, and most scenes existed only in Spielberg's imagination. The composer later said he wrote music for a movie that didn't yet exist, crafting themes for characters he'd never seen and action sequences that might never be completed. The score became so integral to the film's success that many scenes were re-edited to match Williams's compositions rather than the other way around. Fact number 16. The movie invented the modern blockbuster. Universal gave Jaws an unprecedented simultaneous wide release in theaters all across the country. It became the highest-grossing movie of its time. Before Jaws, movies opened in a few major cities and slowly expanded across the country over months. Jaws shattered this model with a nationwide release supported by television advertising, a marketing strategy so revolutionary that it redefined how Hollywood sells movies. Every summer, Blockbuster since owes its existence to the distribution innovation born from Universal's confidence in a troubled production about a mechanical shark that barely worked. Fact number 17. The barrels were the real stars. When Bruce refused to perform, Spielberg turned to simple yellow barrels as his shark indicators. These props, meant to show where the harpoon shark was swimming, became more expressive and terrifying than the mechanical monster they represented. The barrels could dive, surface, and drag boats with a primal power that Bruce never achieved. Audiences found themselves watching empty water, scanning for yellow barrels with the same intensity they would later bring to horror films. The barrels taught Spielberg that suggestion could be more powerful than spectacle, a lesson that would define his entire career. Fact number 18. Richard Dreyfuss thought the movie would end his career. Hooper actor Richard Dreyfuss was convinced that Jaws would be the biggest flop in Hollywood history. He watched dailies of a mechanical shark that didn't work, a script being rewritten daily, and a production spiraling toward disaster, and begged his agent to get him out of his contract. Dreyfuss was so certain the movie would bomb that he immediately signed on to star in The Goodbye Girl, a small romantic comedy he was sure would be his career saver. The irony is perfect. The movie he thought would destroy him made him a star, while his safety project won him an Oscar. Fact number 19. The shark was too advanced for its time. Bruce the animatronic shark in Jaws was so ahead of his time that his design and ingenuity still influence and teach today's movie creature creators. The mechanical systems designed for Bruce were so complex that they wouldn't be successfully replicated until the 1990s. The shark featured pneumatic and hydraulic systems, radio controls, and articulated mechanics that were decades ahead of available technology. Bruce's constant failures weren't due to poor craftsmanship. They were the inevitable result of trying to create 21st century effects with 1970s technology. The shark was a prototype for animatronics that wouldn't become standard until Jurassic Park nearly 20 years later. Fact number 20. The movie's success almost killed the sequel. The massive success of Jaws created impossible expectations for a follow-up. Jaws 2 entered production with the assumption that it would be easy to replicate the original's magic. But everything that made the first film great, the accidental hiding of the shark, the documentary realism, the small-town intimacy, was lost in the sequel's bigger budget approach. The mechanical sharks worked perfectly in Jaws 2, appearing on screen constantly, and audiences were bored. The sequel's failure taught Hollywood a crucial lesson. Sometimes the best movie magic comes from limitations, not resources. Bonus fact. The true heart of Jaws wasn't Peter Benchley's novel or fears of shark attacks. It was Spielberg's childhood trauma from his parents' divorce. The director has revealed that Chief Brody's desperate attempts to hold his family together while facing an external threat mirrored Spielberg's own feelings of helplessness as his family fell apart. The shark became a metaphor for forces beyond a father's control, and Brody's ultimate victory represented the kind of heroic solution Spielberg had wished for as a child. The movie that terrified audiences was actually a very personal story about family, responsibility, and the monsters that threaten the things we love most. What started as a simple shark movie became the template for every summer blockbuster, the birth of modern horror filmmaking, and proof that sometimes the best art comes from complete chaos. Jaws succeeded not despite its problems, but because of them. Every breakdown, every failure, every moment when the shark refused to work forced Spielberg and his team to find more creative solutions. If you enjoyed learning the truth behind these iconic shark-infested waters, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments, what other classic movies do you want me to dive into? Because in Hollywood, the story behind the story is always stranger than fiction. Just when you thought it was safe to go back to YouTube,